trying to keep the public up to date as much as possible. My image hasn't changed at all. It was always Daniel's evil, Daniel's a monster, and with that painted narrative, the public automatically will just jump to the belief of guilt.
Newly released court documents reveal a complicated family history, and while police maintain there's no evidence of an abduction, investigators are now examining every relationship surrounding the case, including the role of the children's father. As the timeline tightens and unanswered questions pile up, one thing becomes clear. The truth behind Lilly and Jack's disappearance may be far more tangled than anyone first realized. Two children vanish, and before sirens fade or search grids are finalized, one sentence slips into the public record and refuses to let go. They're easy to take. And once that sentence exists, this case is no longer just about distance, terrain, or timelines. It becomes about responsibility, awareness, and the uncomfortable truth that safety often relies on hope more than preparation, and hope is not a plan. This is the disappearance of Lilly and Jack Sullivan, two young siblings from rural Nova Scotia, a place many describe as quiet, familiar, and safe, the kind of place where people wave at passing cars and leave doors unlocked. And that setting matters, because when something goes wrong in a place that feels safe, the shock travels deeper and lasts longer. According to investigators, there is no evidence to suggest the children were abducted, no confirmed sightings, no physical proof of outside involvement, and yet that official position exists alongside deeply troubling admissions made publicly by an adult close to the case, admissions that force you, the viewer, to confront a reality you may not want to examine. Martel stated that if the children wandered to the road, they would get into almost any car if food, water, candy, or even the promise of seeing their parents was offered. And that statement does not accuse anyone, but it exposes vulnerability so clearly that it changes how every possible outcome feels. Think about that for a moment, not as a distant case, but as a scenario. Two children, alone, tired, thirsty, confused, standing near a road where cars pass without slowing, and then imagine someone stopping, offering comfort, offering help, offering exactly what a child would want to hear. And now, ask yourself, would your own children know the difference between help and harm, or do you just assume they would? Police and search teams moved quickly, expanding efforts across wooded areas, properties, and paths children could realistically reach, because statistically, wandering is often the first explanation considered, and that focus matters because resources must follow evidence, not fear. But here is where cases like this become emotionally exhausting, because searches can be thorough and still come empty, and when nothing is found, every possibility remains open, not because investigators say so, but because reality demands it. The community watched as days passed, volunteers joined, drones and dogs were deployed, and still no clear answers emerged, and that silence grows louder with time. Court documents and RCMP statements emphasize restraint, urging the public not to jump to conclusions, and that caution is necessary because speculation can damage investigations and hurt innocent people. But restraint does not erase concern, it does not quiet questions, and it does not stop parents everywhere from replaying that one sentence again and again. They're easy to take. This case forces an uncomfortable discussion about trust, because children are taught to trust adults, taught that help comes from strangers when parents are not around, taught to believe offers of food, water, or safety, and society depends on that trust functioning most of the time. But missing children cases exist because sometimes it does not. There is no confirmed crime here, and that distinction matters legally, but emotionally, uncertainty can feel heavier than certainty, because certainty at least gives shape to fear, while uncertainty lets it spread unchecked. Every road near that area now carries a different meaning. Every passing vehicle becomes a reminder of how many moments go unobserved, how many decisions are made without witnesses, and how quickly normal routines erase potential clues. Think about how many times you have driven past someone and forgotten them seconds later, and then ask yourself how many cases rely on someone remembering a detail they dismissed as unimportant. This documentary is not about pointing fingers. It is about pressure. The pressure families live under, the pressure investigators balance, and the pressure society feels when children disappear and answers do not follow. If you feel a knot forming as you listen, that reaction matters because discomfort keeps attention alive, and attention keeps cases from fading into background noise. Too many stories end not because they are solved, but because people stop watching, stop sharing, stop asking questions. You are not just a viewer here. You are part of the reason this story stays visible, part of the reason names like Lilly and Jack Sullivan remain spoken instead of archived. If this case made you question assumptions about safety, share this video so others feel that same pause. Subscribe to stay informed as facts develop, not rumors. Turn on notifications because updates do not follow schedules, and awareness only spreads when people stay engaged. And before this ends, ask yourself one final question. If these were your children, would you want the world to move on quietly? Or would you want people to keep watching, keep sharing, and keep caring? Because in cases like this, silence is the one thing that never leads to answers. As the days stretched on, what began as a search slowly turned into something heavier, a waiting period filled with silence. And silence has a way of forcing people to confront what they did not want to think about at the beginning. Because at first, everyone hopes for a simple explanation, a misunderstanding, a short walk that went too far. But when hours become days, hope changes shape, and that is when guilt starts creeping into every corner of this case. Guilt for the adults who assumed the environment was safe. Guilt for the moments no one was watching closely enough. Guilt for the trust placed in routine. Investigators continued their work methodically because that is what procedure demands. But outside the official statements, families and communities live in emotional chaos, replaying timelines over and over, asking themselves what they might have missed, what detail could have mattered if only it had been noticed sooner. Police maintained that there was no evidence pointing toward abduction, and that statement is precise. But precision does not bring comfort because it does not explain where the children are, only where evidence has not yet led. And in missing children cases, the gap between what is known and what is possible is where fear grows fastest. The rural setting that once symbolized safety now feels exposed because open land offers freedom but also isolation, and isolation means fewer witnesses, fewer cameras, fewer answers. Every decision made before the disappearance suddenly feels heavier in hindsight, and that is something no official report can capture, the emotional aftermath of realizing how fragile normal life really is. When Martel spoke about how easily the children could have trusted a stranger, those words did not just describe Lilly and Jack, they reflected a broader truth about childhood innocence. And that truth is uncomfortable because it implies that protection is an active responsibility, not a passive hope. And if that makes you uneasy, it should, because cases like this do not just ask what happened, they ask what could happen again if nothing changes. Communities often believe danger looks obvious, that threats announce themselves, but real harm often hides behind ordinary gestures, and that is why education, awareness, and vigilance matter long before anything goes wrong. As media attention fluctuated, as headlines shifted, the family remained stuck in one moment, the moment their children did not come home. And that is where guilt becomes relentless, because time moves forward for everyone else, but not for them. Every passing car, every knock, every phone call becomes loaded with meaning, and that is a reality shared by families in countless unsolved cases, families who watch the world move on while their lives remain paused. This story is not dramatic because of action, it is haunting because of absence, because nothing definitive has filled the space left behind. And absence does not resolve itself, it either fades into forgetting or stays alive through attention. That is where you come in. Watching this is not passive, sharing this is not meaningless, staying engaged is not pointless. Public awareness has kept cases alive before. It has brought tips forward years later. It has reminded authorities that unresolved questions still matter. If you feel a sense of responsibility listening to this, that feeling exists for a reason. It is the recognition that protecting children is not only a private duty, it is a collective one. So ask yourself honestly, if this story disappears from your feed tomorrow, would anything change for Lilly and Jack, or would silence simply win again? If you believe these children deserve continued attention, share this video so their names remain visible. Subscribe to this channel for ongoing, careful coverage of real cases that demand focus and respect. Turn on notifications so you stay aware when new information emerges. And remember, caring is not enough if it ends here. Awareness only matters when it is sustained, because for families waiting for answers, the hardest part is not the questions, it is the fear that one day people will stop asking them.